Okay, so we are coming up to tax year end. Used to be my least favourite time of year because I never usually really understood what it meant when everybody was talking about tax year end.
It is quite a boring subject, tax, isn't it really?
It's not the one that'll get you out of bed in the morning. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about the main types of ISAs and what you can do with them and then what that means for your money. What does ISA actually stand for?
I did actually have to Google that this morning.
So don't worry if you don't know what it means. So it just means individual savings account, nothing more complex than that. So that's number one checklist done for your tax training. So Tara, can you tell us what tax efficient actually means?
Yeah, sure. And that's actually a really good question and one that people often wonder. They know that ISAs are tax efficient, but how, why, how does it work? What is the benefit and is it really worth it? Well, of the £20,000 you can put into an ISA each year, the money that you earn on that within the ISA bubble is tax free. So ordinarily, if you had £100 and you earned 1%, so that's £1, you'd have to pay 20p of that away to the taxman in capital gains tax. I'll come back to capital gains tax in a second because it is an important part of all of this. But within an ISA wrapper, you don't have to pay that capital gains tax. It's protected from that taxman.
Yeah, I always like to think of it of like I've got my money in a little bubble, and that's the amount that then the taxman can't reach in with his hand and take out again.
It is all protected from him. So I said I'd come back to capital gains tax. It is really important. So you may know that capital gains tax is only eligible once you're earning a return of over £12,300. So you have to be earning additional income of over £12,300 for you to be needing to pay capital gains tax. So you might be thinking, well, okay, that's a lot of money to be earning and my savings within an ISA aren't going to be earning that much money. In the short term, that might be true. What you have to think about is in the long term. So in 5, 10, 15 years time, when you've been setting up ISAs each year and contributing into them, that money you put aside in 2021 is still tax free. So yes, today it might not give you the big benefit that you might be hoping for, but you in 20, 25, 30 years time will be really glad of the fact that you made use of those tax efficient wrappers.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely what I've always thought is like, oh no, I've not got that much money so it doesn't matter, but actually it really does for the long term.
Yeah, for sure. So that's tax efficiency, but there are lots of different types of ISAs. Mel, what are they and how do they work?
Yes, so there's 5 different types of ISA that I'm going to mention today, but 3 are probably the most relevant. So I'm just going to talk about what they are and why you might use them. So number 1 is a cash ISA. So this is kind of what Tara's already been through, which is money that you put into your bank account that gets tax-free interest, essentially. So this is really good for short-term savings. Interest rates at the moment are really low. So if it's not money that you don't need immediately, then there are other options. But if you have to have money that needs to be available, for instance, your emergency fund, which is something that we always talk about and is really important, it's really good for that to be within your cash ISA.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is a stocks and shares ISA. We are big fans of the stocks and shares ISA. I'm not going to go into what that means in terms of actually investing, but if you want to find out more about that, definitely go onto our website. There's lots of videos and content to do with that. When you put money within a stocks and shares ISA, that money is invested. So that could be in property, it could be in bonds, it could be in equities. But you have a much bigger chance of gaining a lot more interest on the money that you invest than you would in a cash ISA.
Higher returns means more tax saved. So that's the second big tick in the box in your tax lesson today.
Exactly. So if you can put the money away for a longer period of time, usually we say at least 3 years, 3 to 5 years is kind of ideal, then that money really should be going into a stocks and shares ISA where you can really make the most of that tax efficient savings, but also grow your money because it's invested as well.
Exactly.
So that's number 2. Number 3 is the lifetime ISA. So this is a scheme that the government put out, I think it was a couple of years ago, really to help people maximise their money even more. And there's 2 options within a lifetime ISA. You can have it put in cash or you can have it in stocks and shares. But you will get an additional boost from the government. If you max it out at £4,000 a year, you will get a 25% tax boost, which equals to £1,000.
So what's the catch, Mel?
So the catch is that money needs to be used for either buying a house or it needs to be used for retirement. So you can't take that money out before you're 60 if you're using it for retirement.
You will lose that 25% boost that we're all looking for as part of the lifetime ISA.
Exactly. So you will get penalised if you try and take the money out early or you use it for anything else. So just be aware of that when you're deciding that if that's the right ISA for you. So that's number 3.
Yes.
Number 4, I am not going to go into very much detail on. You might have seen it in a few places, but it's called the Innovative Finance ISA. It's a bit more of a niche product. It can be quite high risk, so we're not going to go into detail on that today.
But there's plenty online if you're interested.
Exactly. And then number 5 is the Junior ISA. So if you have children or you're under 18 and very engaged in your finances.
Yeah, good job from you, earning money, interested in savings and watching this video.
Then, yeah, brilliant. But yeah, so if you've got kids, you can actually use the Junior ISA on top of your existing allowance, and that's up to £9,000 for the year.
Yeah, but you have to hand that money over to your kids when they turn 18.
You do.
It's up to you whether you want to take that option.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so if we think then about those being the different types of ISA, how can you make the most of the tax efficiency, the tax benefits, the different structures? Mel's talked about the different reasons why you might use each of the different ISAs, but there are other things that you have to be aware of. Number 1 is that the tax year starts and ends rather bizarrely on the 4th of April. So you really want to get as much money saved in your ISAs, whichever ones you're using, as you can before the 4th of April, so that you can open another one the very next day and start your allowance from scratch. And you can save into different types of ISAs in a year. So that's the other thing to be aware of. You can have a cash ISA and a stocks and shares ISA and contribute into both of those within a financial year. But you cannot have 2 cash ISAs and 2 stocks and shares ISAs in a given year. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you can have your ISA with Hargreaves Lansdown that you're contributing into one financial year, leave that where it is, open a new account with, say, Moneybox and start contributing into that, but that is the only ISA, the only stocks and shares ISA you can contribute into for that financial year. Although, as I said, you can have a cash ISA somewhere else. The third thing to be aware of to make the most of your tax benefit and ISA allowance is to have your ISAs being used and your ISA money being invested in the place that will make you the most money. The higher return, the more tax benefit you get. So if you are maxing out your 20,000, you want to make sure that that is in the part of the ISA world that will make you the most return. That's likely to be a stocks and shares ISA or a LISA, a lifetime ISA that is invested. Cash ISAs are earning next to nothing at the moment. So you want to think about whether or not that's the right place to use your ISA allowance.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so tax year end coming up very quickly.
Yes.
Lots of different types of ISA, but don't let that overwhelm you. Either you've got short-term savings, in which case the cash ISA is great. More longer-term savings, you can use a stocks and shares ISA. And if you're thinking about buying a house or saving more for retirement, then look at the lifetime ISA. Simple. And that's it. That's the tax training. Thank you for joining us.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye.